So we're here in a lovely spring afternoon in Kenny's garden. And unfortunately Kenny isn't able to be with us, so we're recording this video to be able to launch Bloom 2024. So Kenny, thank you so much for the idea and the inspiration behind Bloom in the beginning for Stoke in Bloom. We would never have done it without you. So let's think back to the beginning of Bloom. What were the reasons that you wanted to kickstart it? Can you remember?
So Bloom was a sort of a collaboration of ideas to actually support people, encourage people to be themselves in their landscape. We're very much all aware of a changing world, and that, you know, being in the garden is good for us, but good for space and good for planet. But there's a diversity of ways we can approach that, and there's such inherent links between arts and science and our landscape and our culture and our locality, that it was kind of, how do we take the convention of the old conventions of Bloom, which is like petunias all in a row, and don't get me wrong, I love a petunia, but it was kind of, how can we promote our space to be, if you want to grow petunias all in a row, or, you know, massive trees and everything in between, this is the space for people to just be able to explore their identity in that space and just go and have fun.
Lovely. So Stoke's obviously quite a diverse area. There's lots of different kind of places and different types of gardens. Can you think back to those early days about any highlights that really stood out for you?
I think it was actually the level of interaction that we got, and actually that it was really ready for this, and people going, actually I really want to do this, and in a really sweet way, people worrying about actually entry requirements, and we're going, no, we're not as strict. It's not about if your flowers are perfect, so don't worry. But what was nice is actually people were ready for it. There was, and it's that notion that there is an investment in people, and that is really, and that I think was the most exciting thing. And I think when we tracked where everything was going, we could actually start to see how the ward was performing, and where we're getting hives of sort of activity and where we're not. You know, so it really was really interesting from the sort of, you know, the people point of view. Yeah.
Brilliant, excellent. So moving on to year 2, so we introduced categories. We had 9 different categories, and we're going to carry on with those categories for this year.
Yes.
So we were doing, well, can you remember the categories, or do I have to?
So I can remember some of them. So we had the Business Award, the
Yeah.
Eurovision Award, Express Yourself, Lift a Slab, Pollinise, the Young Grower, the Community Award, the North Face of the Eiger,
Home growing.
and home growing. Is that the only one I missed?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there we go. It's not too bad, is it? So yeah, 9, and we learned from the first year. We expanded and we cut, and 9 is quite a lot of awards, but actually they are 9 spaces that we highlighted as areas that needed that kind of vision and support. So if it's from business or to young people, or to the artistry that people put into their gardens, they're the stories we need to show and tell. And it was very clear that those were, from our first year learning, the things that came up. So we implemented them.
Amazing, that's really cool. So tell me a bit about a couple of those. Tell me about Express Yourself.
So Express Yourself is all about the individuality of the person and their place, and how they sit within their landscape and their local culture. And gardens are, in my opinion, an expression of art. You know, for myself, you know, I paint with flowers, I don't paint with paint. And what came out of that was we saw some really beautiful gardens that had really gone along on that journey. So if it was even use of recycled materials to create paths, but it wasn't just a path. There was, you know, there were swirls. There was a whole art to it, and this is what you don't see when we don't talk about it. And so that was why I think like that one is particularly exciting award, because we see beyond the flower.
Yeah, no, lovely, and some really nice recycled stuff. Well, wasn't there some really nice use of recycled things? Tell us about Eurovision, because that's a bit odd, isn't it?
Yes. So how do we break out from the confines of Stoke in a city that is desperate to be greener and do more, and we see a lot of that across it. And it was taken from the notion of Eurovision. So always our saying is, if Australia can be in Eurovision, then Stoke can be in Stoke in Blue. And that was extending that hand of friendship. So though they can't enter the other awards, what they can kind of do is enter the, look, we're a friend of Stoke. And it gets people talking, it brings people in from the rest of Plymouth to be able to sort of get to know garden folk this way. It creates us as the epicentre of plant-based activity, which I think Stoke is becoming more and more known for. You know, there's a lot that goes on, and it was a way of pulling in other people and going, but you can also do this, but if not, you can come and join ours. Because we had a few people that were like, oh, I'm really jealous we haven't got that in our ward, so we stepped up.
Yeah, brilliant, excellent. Stoke, the epicentre of the universe, is the
Yeah.
thing, isn't it? Yeah. So this is our 3rd year. How exciting! We've built probably some values now, haven't we? There's some key values. What would you say are the key values?
So our key values is that we're in a time that's very turbulent at the moment. We've got climate chaos, we've got all of these things going on around us, and there's a lot of you must do this, you must not do that. And we say we don't agree, because diversity of thought process is what creates better outcome. And there's a lot of stuff in the garden world of it must be planted this way, or you can only grow that, and actually we've gone no, we're going to rip the rule books up, and that's reflected in our awards. So it's going, we actually want to see people experimenting, because that's how we've got to now. Gardening and horticulture is only where it is because people experimented. And so that's why we're like, we're not going to penalise people or say you can't do this or can't do that, because it stops the freedom of mind. We do, I suppose, which contradicts that slightly, do ask that peat is not used and is chemical free. And that's just basically on a notion that there is so much now to back that those 2 areas are so destructive. We wouldn't really want to wish to endorse that kind of travel of gardening, because this is about how do we garden and grow, but in a changing world, more sustainably, more thoughtfully. So that's really where our values sit. It's kind of, you do you, we want to see what you do, please don't use pesticide, and make your own compost, buy peat free, or growing gravel, whatever works for you, kind of thing.
Brilliant. Obviously super excited for 2024. We've had quite a lot of kind of engagement over the last few years from other organisations and other people across the city. So how are the awards linking with that kind of wider engagement?
So the big thing is that actually, as we go into the future, that we do need to connect more, or we need to stop being in our own sort of silo kind of situation. And so if I take an organisation like Brick that has looked at anti-flooding measures across the city, they linked into one of our awards last year, which was the Lift a Slab campaign, that looks at how areas of people's gardens are being lifted, so the hard material, the concrete, all of that rubbish is coming up to expose the ground back to the sky. And that explores people growing in builders rubble, in soil they've got, but it's basically of going, how do I get plants back in this hard landscape? And by linking in with them, what we do is that elevates us within sort of more of what's going on and within the council. So that sort of goes, oh, they're doing this, could, you know, long term, but it also gives us access to what they're doing and enables us to be able to share their work. So they're doing lots of things working with streets at how they create rain gardens, all of the media and text that they create with that. So we're going to be able to sort of direct people to their advice, which obviously for one means we don't have to write as much, which is always a good thing. But what we're trying to do is bring in other ideas, other thought processes. So each one of those awards as time goes on will kind of have sort of, you know, a sponsor in a sense that helps support that kind of content. So you're not just going, I'm entering that, you're actually getting much more advice from it as well.
That's brilliant. So so we're really looking at a win-win situation where, as Brick are a sponsor of the award, then we can also share the content that they're seeking to get out to the community around flood prevention and how
exactly
we can all do a little bit to help with the wider environment in Plymouth. Yeah,
exactly. And that just allows that real freedom of movement of information. They get out stuff that they desperately need to get out and engage with people,
Yeah.
and we're able to increase the content that we can deliver for everyone through our friends across the city.
Great. So obviously, the people involved in Stoke and Bloom are doing this as volunteers. It's a labour of love. It's you've got your own work. You're up in London quite a bit now. So talk to me about how people can get involved and how we can keep it as simple as possible and just enjoy sharing this.
Yeah, so Stoke and Bloom is it's free to sort of be involved, but that's also our time is free. We're not funded. The first year it was funded between all of us because we believed in that change. So do be patient with us because we all have adult jobs. As we all do, and so that does take time. If you do want to get involved, you can message through the Facebook group or through Instagram or through the contacts at the Village Hub, and we generally have sort of a couple of committee meetings throughout the year, and that's just more going, what are we doing with Bloom? If it's winter, what we're doing with Christmas. As you would have known, we did Christmas in Bloom, and so yeah, feel free to get involved. But if we go to the awards and how you enter, we try to really simplify those awards, and we ask for a story and some pictures that go with that. So if I take something like the Express Yourself Award, which is very much about the art of the person and the landscape and how they come together, is that what we're asking for is, why have you done that? What has created that creative link between your mind and your garden? So we've seen people upcycling bricks to create these beautiful swirling paths and plants bringing through them. What has sort of taken you on that journey to create that kind of space? So keep it really simple, because I know some people come back to me and they're going, Kenny, I don't know what to write. If you don't know what to write, it can be as simple as, I like flowers, or I like growing vegetables, and that's what I wanted to do. And you find the category that suits that. For example, the north face of the Eiger, that's about growing in really crappy spaces. So if it's a north facing garden, you've got a balcony, you've got no water, it's all concrete, but what is it you're doing to actually green that space? That is as simple as that, and that's all we want to know, and some photos, so we're able to share your stories, and all of that is on the website, and you're able to message us through social media, or if you go into the hub or anything like that, just ask us.
Brilliant. And then just two categories I know we're quite interested in getting some people to, young people and also businesses. Is there anything finally you'd like to say to inspire businesses or young people to kind of take
we
the
would
leap?
really love to have some applications for young growers. That does need to be supported by parents or schools. We don't ask you just to submit randomly, because that does become a safeguarding situation. But if you are a parent that's got a child that really loves growing, please submit, because we do want to share that stories of young growers within where we live, because they are the future of everything. And then the business award. I think we neglect business involvement. And what we are trying to do is actually long term is create more of a summer theme with Stoke in Bloom, so that businesses can engage with that. So if that is you theme your menu with bloomy kind of wording, so you've got a bloom burger, or you've got some kind of stickers that go up in the window, and it's something you can work with us on to be able to help develop that. And it's not to pressurise businesses at all, but what we're trying to do is actually attract more people to the space and the area. So long term, if we've got this sort of bloom engagement across businesses, is that we foresee that that can have a pull to the space as well.
Blooming lovely, Kenny. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you.